Prologue update. The Lazarus project is about to enter the final phase. It's taken nearly 2 years, but we did it. Commander Shepard is alive. This is the most amazing medical achievement in recorded history. Maybe now Miranda will finally show some appreciation for everything I've done.
Most of the galaxy sees Project Lazarus as a miracle. A scientific triumph that cheated death itself. They are fools. The resurrection of Shepard was not a miracle. It was an investment. The single most audacious, expensive, and geopolitically destabilizing Black Ops project in modern history. To understand the greatest gamble ever made, you can't start at the operating table. You have to go back decades, to a forgotten war and a forgotten man. You have to start with the man who saw the abyss and decided he could stare it down. Before the Illusive Man, there was Jack Harper, a mercenary, a specialist. During the First Contact War, while the Alliance military was fighting a conventional war against the Turians on Shang-Chi, Harper was playing a different game. He led a small team, including a hot-headed munitions expert named Ben Hislop and a deadly operative, Eva Correa, on a mission to uncover what the Turians were really after. It wasn't territory. It wasn't resources. General de Salis Arterius, brother of a certain Spectre you might know, wasn't leading a military conquest. He was on an archaeological dig. His forces were sweeping the planet, looking for something ancient, something alien. Harper's team found it first. A massive dark monolith, humming with an energy that defied physics, hidden deep within a cavern. And this is where the galaxy turned on its axis. Harper's subordinate, Ben Hislop, made a fatal error. He touched it. The artifact erupted in a flash of blue energy, a silent scream that tore through the cavern. Hislop was killed instantly, his body convulsing as it was flooded with forces beyond comprehension. Jack Harper, trying to save him, was caught in the backlash. He didn't die. Instead, the artifact spoke to him. It flooded his mind with visions of darkness, of destruction, of a future tied inextricably to that monolith. When he awoke, he was no longer just Jack Harper. The energy had rewritten him. His eyes, once normal, now glowed with a chilling blue cybernetic light, a permanent scar from his glimpse into the void. But the changes were more than cosmetic. He found he could suddenly understand the alien glyphs on the monolith, read the language of the Turians, even comprehend Asari, all without a single lesson. He had developed a psychic connection to the artifact, able to feel its presence from across the stars. But what did he learn? What truth was so profound it could transform a man so completely? He learned the monolith wasn't a gift. It wasn't a tool. It was a trap. A devolution device, as he later concluded. A cosmic booby trap left by some ancient, malevolent intelligence. Its purpose: to identify rising species, transform them into powerful, mindless husks. Metaturians, he called them, and then alert its masters. It was a warning system and a weapon, all in one. This knowledge, it broke him from the rest of the universe. The Council, the Alliance. They were children playing with matches, utterly oblivious to the inferno waiting just beyond the door. How could he explain a devolution device to a politician worried about trade tariffs? How could he warn of a booby trap laid millennia ago to admirals planning fleet movements? he couldn't. His truth was too monstrous, too alien, and so Jack Harper died in that cave, and the Illusive Man was born. Forged in the crucible of a truth no one else could see. He wasn't just arrogant, he was alone. The only man in the galaxy who knew the real war had already begun. For years, he operated from the shadows, building his organization, Cerberus, to fight this secret war. He was a king on an island of one, until Commander Shepard. Shepard's exposure to the Prothean beacon on Eden Prime, the mental battle with Sovereign, it created a second member of his exclusive club. Another soul who had seen the abyss and knew the Reapers were real. Do you see it now? Shepard wasn't just a soldier to him, not just a hero or a symbol. Shepard was a peer, the only other person in the galaxy who understood. The loss of Shepard in the attack on the Normandy wasn't just the loss of a valuable asset. It was the loss of his only equal. And for a man like the Illusive Man, that was an unacceptable loss. Project Lazarus was never just about bringing back a soldier. It was about bringing back his only friend in a galaxy of fools. But before you can resurrect a ghost, you have to catch it. Shepard's death triggered a shadow war, a frantic, multi-faction scramble for the most valuable corpse in the galaxy. The shadow broker of that time was, of course, involved. Information is currency. But a body? A body is a vault of secrets. The players were predictable. Liara Tassoni, driven by grief and loyalty, began the search, hoping for a miracle. Her quest, however, served only as a beacon, alerting every predator in the Terminus systems that there was blood in the water. The Shadow Broker saw only profit. He contracted the Blue Suns to secure the prize, intending to auction it off to the highest bidder. And the highest bidder was the Collectors. Their interest was the most alarming development. Why would the Reaper's enigmatic servants want Shepard's body? What could they possibly gain from a corpse? The question sent a chill through every intelligence agency in the shadows. Then there was Cerberus. The Illusive Man didn't enter the auction. He intended to crash it. He deployed his own assets, including a Drell information broker named Pharaon, who was playing a double game. Pharaon, officially working for the Shadow Broker, was secretly a Cerberus plant, tasked with manipulating Liara and sabotaging the deal from the inside. The conflict came to a head on base on the planet Alangon. A chaotic firefight, a desperate gambit by Pharaon, and a final brutal sacrifice. Pharaon was captured by the Broker's enforcer, Tazik, but his sacrifice bought Liara the time she needed. She escaped, with the prize. Cerberus didn't just find Shepard's body floating in space. They ripped it from the clutches of the Collectors and the Shadow Broker in a clandestine war that cost them agents and resources. They proved their reach, their ruthlessness, and their singular focus. They had won the auction. Now, the real work could begin.
Log update. The cost of this project is astronomical, over 4 billion credits so far. But nobody seems to care that we've gone over budget. I don't know where the boss gets all his money. Maybe it's better not to know. I just wish he'd kick a little more in my direction once in a while.
With the assets secured, the Illusive Man initiated the most ambitious project in his organization's history. He created a new, top-secret division with a single mandate: resurrect Commander Shepard. He called it the Lazarus Cell, and he put Miranda Lawson in charge. A perfect choice. Miranda was, after all, designed for perfection. Genetically engineered by her wealthy egomaniacal father, she spent her life striving to be the flawless specimen he intended. For her, Project Lazarus was more than a mission. It was the ultimate test of her own design. Recovered logs show other Cerberus scientists claimed resurrection was impossible, a violation of natural law. But Miranda disagreed. She needed to succeed, to prove that she, and by extension her work, was truly perfect. Her first task was to build her team. To find a security chief for the Lazarus cell. And her target tells you everything you need to know about Cerberus's recruitment strategy. She didn't seek out a true believer, a xenophobic fanatic. She sought out a broken soldier. She found Jacob Taylor in a high-end bar on the Citadel, drowning his sorrows. A good alliance man, disgusted with the politics and bureaucracy that followed the attack on the Citadel. He was bitter, angry that the Council and the Alliance were, in his words, believing the lie about Sovereign and covering up the truth about Shepard's disappearance. He was a man with cracks in his loyalty, and Miranda's pitch was a masterclass in exploitation. She didn't sell him on human supremacy. She sold him on a shared truth. I work for an organization that is free from the regulations and rules that bind the Alliance, she told him, and we know that there is very much something to worry about. More importantly, we're doing something about it. Do you see the pattern? Cerberus thrives on the failures of established powers. They don't build their ranks from the fringes of society. They poach the best and most disillusioned talent from the heart of the establishment. They find men and women like Jacob, good people who feel betrayed by the system, and they offer them what the Alliance and Council will not: validation, acknowledgement that their fears are real, and the promise of action. She offered him a mission that appealed to the very core of his being as a soldier. A mission to bring back a fallen hero, someone who can save us all from the greatest threat this galaxy has ever faced. How could he refuse? He was a man adrift, and she offered him not just a job, but a cause, a purpose. She gave him a new uniform, state-of-the-art armor, and a seat on a shuttle bound for the Terminus systems. His first mission for Cerberus? To help find the very hero whose loss had driven him from the Alliance in the first place. It was elegant, it was ruthless, it was Cerberus. The cost was obscene. Astronomical, as Wilson, the Cerberus lead scientist on the Lazarus project, noted in his logs. Internal chatter, financial records my agents have acquired, all point to a single figure, north of 4 billion credits. Let's put that number in perspective. For 4 billion credits, you could fund a dozen colonial startups. You could build a small fleet of frigates. You could buy a controlling interest in a mid-level corporation on Ilium. To spend that on a single individual is not just extravagant, it is economically irrational by any sane metric. It is the kind of spending driven not by logic, but by obsession. This budget is the most tangible proof of the Illusive Man's conviction. He was willing to bet the financial stability of his entire shadow empire on one person. It tells you that Cerberus is not merely a terrorist group or a political faction. It's a clandestine parastate, with economic power rivaling that of legitimate governments, all fueled by a network of front companies and dark money. And the logistics were just as staggering. They needed a secret location, far from the prying eyes of the Council and the Alliance. They found it in a decommissioned Alliance listening post, Station R-22. Through a shell corporation, Cord Hislop Aerospace, Cerberus purchased the station, towed it from Mars into the lawless Terminus systems, and secretly retrofitted it into a bleeding-edge research facility orbiting the planet Parnac in the Roma Nebula. They named it Lazarus Station, a 1.2-kilometer-long testament to secrecy, powered by 3-element zero cores and staffed by over 1,000 of the galaxy's best and most morally flexible scientists, doctors, and engineers. All of it hidden. All of it off the books. All of it for one man. But where did the seed money come from? 4 billion credits don't just appear, even for the Illusive Man. My network has been digging into the deepest, oldest accounts, and one of my agents has just found the head of the serpent.
Cassian, report.
Broker, I've finished the deep dive on the Lazarus funding streams. It's not one source, it's a web. The seed capital appears to have been liquidated from assets connected to his old mercenary unit from the First Contact War. But the real growth started in 2155. He established a network of blind trusts and shell corporations with no discernible products or revenue.
2 years before the Turians even attacked Shanxi.
Correct. He was building a corporate empire in the shadows before the catalyst event for Cerberus even occurred. He's been building his war chest for decades. This wasn't a plan reacting to a war. It was a long-term financial architecture waiting for a purpose.
So he had the will and the wallet long before he had the perfect soldier. Good work, Cassian. Keep digging. Broker out.
Financial architecture, waiting for a purpose. He has been playing this game longer than any of us knew. Which brings us to his grand strategy. The central, terrifying paradox of Project Lazarus. Why spend billions of credits, decades of planning, and the full might of your organization to resurrect someone with perfect, untainted, uncontrollable free will?
Our orders were clear. Make Commander Shepard who he was before the explosion. The same mind, the same morals, the same personality. If we alter his identity in any way, if he's somehow not the man he used to be, the Lazarus Project will have failed. I refuse to let that happen.
This was the Illusive Man's masterstroke, and his greatest folly. The logs from the Lazarus Project confirm the internal debate. When confronted by Shepard, Miranda Lawson admitted that the idea of implanting a control chip had been considered. Her logic was brutally pragmatic. Ensure the multi-billion credit investment remained a loyal asset. But the Illusive Man was adamant. He refused. His reasoning, relayed by Miranda, was that Shepard had to be perfect. He wouldn't allow any modification that might affect Shepard's personality or character. He didn't want a puppet. He didn't want a drone or a mind-slaved soldier. He had those. He wanted Shepard, the hero, the symbol, the leader who could inspire loyalty unto death. A mind-controlled Shepard would be a pale imitation, lacking the very charisma and independent fire that made them a galactic legend. So, his strategy was not coercion, it was seduction. He resurrected Shepard into a carefully constructed ecosystem of failure and denial. The Council? Dismissive, burying their heads in the sand about the Reaper threat. The Alliance? Suspicious, grounding Shepard, treating their greatest hero like a criminal for associating with Cerberus. Everyone Shepard once trusted was either gone, hostile, or powerless. And into that vacuum stepped the Illusive Man. Calm, resourced, and most importantly, a believer. He presented himself and Cerberus as the only other sane actors in a galaxy gone mad. He leveraged their shared, secret knowledge of the Reapers as the ultimate bonding agent. He didn't want to change Shepard's will. He wanted to aim it. By being Shepard's benefactor, by giving them a new Normandy, a hand-picked crew, and a clear mission against the Collectors, he sought to create a debt. Not a debt of money, but of purpose. He believed that faced with galactic apathy on one side and a willing, powerful ally on the other, Shepard would choose to align with Cerberus. He would become a willing asset. A Spectre loyal not to the Council, but to him. He didn't want to own Shepard's mind, he wanted to win their heart. On a technical level, Project Lazarus was an unqualified, staggering success. They took what was left of Shepard, a body exposed to hard vacuum, burned up on atmospheric re-entry, and subjected to catastrophic explosive trauma, and they rebuilt it, piece by piece. Miranda's own logs detail the process, moving from simple organic reconstruction to biosynthetic integration, with the explicit order to bring Shepard back exactly the way they were. Same mind, same morals, same personality. They succeeded. That was their tactical triumph. The political fallout, however, was immediate and severe. The Alliance, personified by Admiral Anderson, was deeply suspicious and hostile. How could their former hero now be working for a designated terrorist organization? The Council, while willing to unofficially reinstate Shepard's Spectre status, refused any public support. Shepard was an outcast, a pariah, tainted by the very organization that had saved them. This was all part of the Illusive Man's plan. He had successfully isolated Shepard, but this is where his strategy collapsed. This was his catastrophic miscalculation. He assumed that by controlling the environment, he could predict the outcome. He believed that the shared truth of the Reaper threat would be enough to bind Shepard to his cause. He was wrong. He fundamentally misunderstood, or perhaps willfully ignored, the core of Shepard's character. Shepard's loyalty was never to an ideology, be it the Alliance Charter or Cerberus's human-first dogma. Their loyalty was to people, to their crew, to the innocence of the galaxy, regardless of species. The Illusive Man's shared truth was a powerful tool, but it could not outweigh the moral disgust Shepard felt at Cerberus's methods, the terrorism, the xenophobia, the utter ruthlessness. The Illusive Man's greatest strength, his singular, unbending conviction that he alone knew what was best for humanity, was also his greatest weakness. He was so certain of his own righteousness that he couldn't conceive of Shepard, his only peer, ultimately rejecting him. He spent over 4 billion credits to flawlessly restore Shepard's free will, only to be utterly undone by it. Project Lazarus was a masterpiece of science, logistics, and clandestine financing that failed because of a fundamental error in psychological analysis. The Illusive Man accounted for every variable except the most important one, the one he had paid so dearly to preserve. He won the asset, but he lost the war for their soul. 4 billion credits, 2 years of bleeding-edge science, a shadow war fought across the Terminus systems, all to resurrect one human. He proved that you can rebuild a body, restore a mind, even buy a soul a second chance. But you can't put a price on will. You can't quantify loyalty. And you can never, ever, truly control a hero. That was the one variable his calculations missed. And in the end, it cost him everything. The network is always watching. Subscribe, and you will see what we see.